Good afternoon. I'm Jennifer Ken. If you're just joining us today, I'm Vice President of Research at Parks Associates, and so excited to be jumping into our next panel focusing on home security channels, DIY and pro. In this session, we are diving into the residential security market, right? After many years of relative stability around a tried and true business model of dealer sold, professionally installed, professionally monitored security systems, the market has really become very dynamic. Automation platforms, smart home devices, DIY systems, and innovation and monitoring plans are all shaking up the market. So excited to continue our day talking about the connected home today by really taking a strong look at home security. Before we dive into our content, I do want to call out our sponsors for making this event possible and in general for supporting us as we switch from in-person to virtual events both in 2020 and into 2021. So thank you to Alarm.com, AmTrust Security Risk, Plume, and as well as Airties. Thanks so much for your support. So when we think about the security industry, and like I said, it's been very dynamic, a lot of changes in a market that had been relatively stable for a long time, you can see that one of the big stories is around self-install versus pro-install systems. And self-install systems have slowly been taking a larger share of the overall security systems market. As of July 2020, 55% of recent security system buyers chose self-installation, compared to just 1/3 reporting professional install, which is a near flip of the situation just 2 years prior. And multiple factors converge to cause this. DIY security solutions eliminate the cost of pro install, and in many cases have no or low fees for self-monitoring and lower fees for professional monitoring. New market entrants, added features for DIY systems are additional factors, and plus, you know, for this year in particular, self-install systems and products don't rely on professional technicians to enter the home. We know that that's a priority in these times as consumers attempt to limit their interactions with people outside of the household. So while the market has trended this way for several years now, COVID-19 may have hastened this transition as households seek to avoid the risk of infection. Now, interestingly, the story gets more complex when you look at what's happening in the pro dealer channel. Parks Associates surveys security dealers every year to get that boots on the ground view, and we're seeing that professional security dealers are now also selling DIY systems, and increasingly so. Of course, the hypothesis may be that security dealers would naturally see DIY systems as a threat to their traditional business, but we don't find that to be universally true. 40% of dealers report installing DIY systems in 2020, which is up significantly from 2019. And 49% of all security dealers see DIY as a new revenue opportunity, attracting different customers in their pro install business and professional systems that they offer. Fact of the matter, though, is that DIY systems do expand the channel picture considerably. If no dealers needed, security providers have many more paths to market. DIY, competitors are certainly not sitting still here. For instance, SimpliSafe has partnered with Reliant Energy, a retail energy provider in Texas, to provide renters and homeowners in Texas with special offers and discounts on SimpliSafe security products. And similarly, Notion works with insurance companies like Nationwide and others as a unique channel into consumers' homes. Both of these companies, SimpliSafe and Notion, are among our panelists today, so I expect we'll be hearing more about new opportunities in the security market as players continue to experiment with new models, new products, new partnerships. So with that, allow me to introduce our fantastic lineup of speakers today to dive into the security market. We're going to start with Mark Burson, who's the VP of Marketing and Product Management at NICE North America. Mark, tell us a little bit about yourself and about NICE.
Sure. So as you said, I'm Mark Owen Burson, Vice President of Marketing and Product Management at NICE in North America. I joined the group in 2019 out of a passion that I have specifically for smart home products and automation. And at the group, I'm focused on elevating the company's visibility and engagement in the region, as well as the convergence of our associated brands. NICE is a multinational smart home and building automation company with operations and branches in 24 countries and over 2,300 team members worldwide. Our vision is a world without limits, and we have a mission to improve the quality of life by simplifying everyday movements. And we do that by analyzing the day-to-day gestures and interactions, and then building innovative products and services around them to ensure that our customers are experiencing a high-quality solution that's designed forward and connected. Most importantly, the products that we produce are actually really easy to use. In North America specifically, we go to market with 3 key brands, Abode, NICE, and High Security, which offer DIY, professional, and specialized offerings from the perimeter to inside the home or the building. Globally, the company also includes brands such as Alero and Fabaro in the portfolio, and we're continually looking for opportunities to ensure a seamless and automated experience that puts people at the center of the equation.
Great, thank you, Mark. Thanks for joining us. Glad to have you on and to understand the full family of brands that NICE works with here. So next we have Brian Ewan, who's the VP of Sales for Notion. Brian, tell us a little bit about yourself and about Notion.
Yeah, great. Jennifer, thanks for having us. Notion is a IoT DIY sensor company. We started in 2014, and with a real mission of simplicity. We only have one sensor that does multiple things from temperature to water detection, movement, etc. And it has always been really our focus to make it easy on the consumer. And over the last several years, we've had great success of getting traction within services markets as well as insurance. And you mentioned that earlier. We'll talk about that coming up. And we're happy that as a startup, we exited and got acquired in February 2020, and were purchased by Comcast. So we're now part of a large company, which gives us a tremendous amount of opportunity to do some really interesting things as we continue to grow our business. I focus primarily on sales and biz dev, so I lead all those initiatives to continue to drive our revenue and our brand with our customers.
Great, thank you, Brian. Glad to have you with us today. Next, we have Min Kang, who's the Chief Product and Strategy Officer with Brinks Home Security. Hi, Min.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. Glad to be here. My name is Min Kang. I'm a Chief Product and Strategy Officer at Brinks Home Security. I just joined the company about 3 months ago, and now I'm leading, bringing the new product and technology solutions for the company. Brinks Home Security is one of the largest national residential security brands, and we are protecting about over 1 million people in North America today. Our mission is to bring peace of mind when it comes to family and home in the simplest and most effortless way by combining an innovative technology and product, user-centric and seamless experiences, and of course, the fast and trusted and reliable services. We stand for a platinum-grade protection for our customers. And the vision actually is not coming just from us. We are striving to collaborate with our product and channel partners to have our vision coming into life together. Happy to share more, and back to you, Jennifer.
Great, thank you, Min. We're looking forward to hearing more of that Brinks perspective. And next we have Matt Wolf, who's the head of partnerships at SimpliSafe. Hi, Matt.
Hey, Jennifer, and thank you all for carving out some time in your data. Let me join you and share a little bit about SimpliSafe. We're a home security company focused on making home safe and secure for everyone. We introduced an approach over a decade ago that provides customers with a convenient, flexible, and affordable way to get peace of mind. This approach incorporates 15 easy to use and install SimpliSafe design sensors and devices that protect against perils like leaks, freezing pipes, fire, and theft, and pairs them with the highest rated home security mobile app in the Apple App Store and 24/7 professional monitoring that doesn't lock the customer into a long-term contract. This approach has been quite well received, as SimpliSafe now protects millions of Americans and over 100,000 businesses. And in these uniquely challenging times the past year, we've seen heightened demand for our offerings. We were purchased by a leading global private equity firm, Hellman & Friedman, in 2018, and have really seen even more significant growth in that time period. My team is focused on cultivating partnerships to expand the universe of customers choosing to take home security, and developing new opportunities for our customers to get more value from their SimpliSafe service. Looking forward to chatting today.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. Thanks for all of you for being here today. So let's start off with, if participants here and our audience were able to join us for our very first session of the day, we talked a little bit about how, of course, this has been a very disruptive and a very uncertain year for everyone coming out of 2020, and certainly that uncertainty continues into 2021. Households are changing their household patterns, right? Consumers' lives are affected in many, many different ways. We talked a little bit about what that means for the smart home market specifically, but let's talk about security and that security system, security value proposition. What do you think this past year has really meant for the security industry? And Mark, I'll start with you.
Thank you. Yeah, 2020 certainly did prove to be an extraordinary year. The calendar seems to indicate we moved to a new one, but I think we have to wait to see to be sure. Nonetheless, though, I think that the disruption that we experienced will probably continue deeper into at least the beginning of the second half. But we'll continue to see that additional spending on home renovations and in general home improvement. In 2020, we saw some of the highest home improvement spending ever. A recent study from Porch indicated that 3 in 4 U.S. homeowners undertook at least one home improvement project, and 78% plan to do so in the next year. And out of those, 44% that undertook a project actually introduced new technology to the home. So I think that we'll continue to see some growth, and obviously some of this is due to the lack of additional options for discretionary or disposable income, and then the other drivers are limited to or related to the limited ability to function normally outside of the home, like visiting restaurants or locations. So I think that that'll be actually great for the industry in 2021, especially in DIY. And as you indicated earlier, 55% increase in DIY installation in 2020. That's excellent growth. And as we move forward, I think that we'll start to also see some old-fashioned word-of-mouth marketing make an impact as friends hear from other friends about the purchases they made throughout the pandemic. And then even more so when in-person gatherings start to pick up and people are able to interact with those new gadgets. So yeah, the pandemic did cause some uncertainties and disruptions, but we have seen a lot of positive changes in growth, and I expect that trend to continue in 2021 and beyond.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually heard on another panel at CES here, someone talk about how with the distancing, we don't have the ability to kind of show off our new whiz-bang thing when we're together. So when we get back together and you see all the renovations your friends have been doing in their households, might accelerate some of that behavior even further. Well, Matt, let me turn to you. Same question. What from your perspective and from where you guys sit at SimpliSafe are you seeing as the impact on the security industry in your business this year?
Yeah, I think it's closely aligned to what Mark just walked you guys through. Over the past year, we've seen a significant surge in customer demand and adoption. And I envision product sales will continue to increase as people maintain a renewed focus on the home and improving their homes. People, of course, are spending more time at home, and I think they'll continue, home will continue to evolve probably from a place where we used to just simply eat and sleep to one where our home is now our office or our school or our gym, and in some cases, the primary source of entertainment. SimpliSafe recently commissioned a research survey with our partner, Hippo Insurance, in over 1,000 U.S. homes. And those homeowners found that nearly half of them plan to spend more time at home even after the pandemic ends. And nearly 60% believe that protecting the financial value of their home now is more important today than when they first bought their house. So I think it's clear our industry that, like ours, that can help deliver peace of mind. There's going to be still considerable growth opportunities in the coming year and hopefully beyond.
Yeah, let me follow up real quick there, because one thing that you're pointing to is, of course, we are spending all this, extra time at home. One of the drivers to moving from a traditional to an interactive security system where you can, connect with your system remotely was that you can monitor things when you weren't home. Well, we're home now. So are you seeing your customers use your features differently, use your systems differently, use different features than they did before? Are you seeing anything change there?
Yeah, it's really interesting. One of our most popular features is video verification, which for an opted-in customer, for instance, they're allowed to give access to our monitoring center in the event of an alarm, the ability to have a live look into the home in the event of a fire or theft, to be able to try to speed up first responders. We're seeing a lot less use cases of video verification as folks are, are spending time at home themselves. But we're still seeing people very interested in building out their existing customers, build out their systems, still adding cameras and additional devices. Definitely an interest as well is on the outside of the home and protecting and having kind of eyes outside those walls as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about what I mentioned in my setup was how dynamic the security industry really has become, and there's so many more options now of ways to acquire a system or types of systems to acquire. Brian, to you, can you talk through how what you think is driving this explosion of a lot of times it is DIY systems and DIY products and the shifts in the market overall?
Yeah, no, I think I think one of the biggest things, and I've been in the IoT space since 2014, is I think consumers are just getting more comfortable with product, right? With DIY product, with products that connect to their phones and to their internet, the acceptance, and I don't know if we've gotten to the point where it's mass adoption yet, but I think there's a lot of people that are more and more comfortable with that. And I think companies like the ones we have here today and others have really put a lot of effort into security and making sure that those systems are secure. I don't think that is something that I think that part of it is important. So people are more apt to go after that and do that. And they've had success. They've had success with DIY products, so they're looking at that in a different way. I think just to take it one step further, is that I think what we're finding is that people have very customized ways of thinking about security moving forward. That may be traditional theft or traditional fire, but we are seeing on our side people thinking about simple ways to monitor for maybe elderly parents that don't want a camera at home that makes them feel uncomfortable, but we find motion sensors on medicine cabinets or on refrigerators to make sure that people are taking their medicine or eating. So there's lots of different ways that people are identifying with security. That's an extreme with elder, but I think people are kind of coming up with their own definitions and really trying to bring their own thinking to that problem of security around the home.
Yeah, certainly a lot of expansion of thinking about what you can do with these systems that's very different than 8, 9 years ago, let's say, even 5 years ago. Min, let me come to you, also sort of on this idea of the dynamic changes in the market. Beyond pro and DIY security systems proper, there's also this whole slew of smart home devices that are really standalone point devices, like a video doorbell, like a smart, if you're mostly concerned about fire, right? A smart fire detector, smoke detector, carbon monoxide detector, right? Smart door locks, point solutions that maybe give that peace of mind. And for some consumers are good enough, right? And they never maybe get to that full security system play. How do you think about smart products as a competing or alternative solution to security, or maybe a channel into a full security subscription one day?
I believe, these like the product-led innovations actually plays a catalyst role to increase the overall awareness of the entire smart home and, home security category, and really kind of like providing an opportunity for consumers actually thinking about, having a smart home solutions, for those people who have never thought about like buying a smart home systems in the past. And these like piecemeal solutions or the standalone solution, I think that's a great entry point. And as consumer life stage changes, like for example, moving into a new house, having a new children, or having young children or pets at home while they are remotely working as a working parent, I think once they get into that next life stage, they will be more open to kind of like considering a complete solution. So I think this definitely gives us an opportunity to kind of like pioneer the new market. And this is because why interoperability or staying in the open ecosystem will be more and more important. And remember, Jennifer, the market is not homogeneous. Even though more and more people buying standalone solutions, but there are still varying degree of like feeling safe enough or smart enough for their home. There are still like 40% of the market who are looking for more holistic solutions when it comes to smart home and home security. And I think the brands like Brinks or Simply Safe, I think they have a great value proposition for these consumers to have an end-to-end as well as seamlessly working solutions for them. So I think this definitely will give us a good opportunity to grow.
Wonderful. Well, we do have a polling question around this topic. So for our listeners here, if you go to the polling tab, there are 2 polling questions, one of which is, how do DIY security systems impact the professional security market? Security monitoring, does it expand the market for pro monitoring? Is there an impact, or does it erode the market for monitoring? So while we allow people to go in and put in their own opinions, Mark, I'd love to come back to you on this. Changing dynamics of the industry, and what's great is that NICE sits in this family of brands, right, that kind of touch on these different consumer segments and different places that they're at their needs. What do you see from where you sit?
Yeah, I totally agree with Min. I think that a lot of these devices are definitely going to serve as a catalyst for awareness in the space, and most of them, you could consider them good enough, especially for someone who is getting started. And the a la carte offerings, they're definitely part of that, developing that more fully functioning smart security or smart home system, and they have their place in the market that provides utility to consumers. But where one smart device may provide that peace of mind or accomplishes a specific task, it may also leave a gap in functionality or have some issues with incompatibility when expanding the system further, especially when using multiple brands. So things like the Connected Home over IP project will certainly help solve some compatibility issues, but probably not for a few years. However, that gap in functionality or capability or security means that consumers really need to restart their buying journey to identify another point product to solve for their needs next. And then there's the potential for death by redundant alerts that's caused by multiple products that perform similar functions, as you pointed out. You've got other things like perhaps perimeter motion sensors, doorbell cameras that are different brands and different apps, and providing those alerts. And then to that end, consumers also need to consider the app that controls it all, unless they really don't mind using multiple apps. So to me, buying all these separate standalone devices that are good enough, and even if they work together, it's really like buying individual trees instead of buying the whole forest. So the individual smart device could certainly be an initial step into that smart home or smart security, but I think it'll be much easier on consumers to buy a more complete system.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's multiple products in my own home that can all determine presence and occupancy, and somebody's home, somebody's not. Where do I want to get my alerts from? So looking at the results of our poll, most people do see it as let's see, the latest are 69% say that they see DIY as an opportunity to expand the market for pro monitoring. and just 22% see it as erosion potential. Nobody thinks there's no impact. So no matter what, the DIY folks are definitely shaking up the market for good or for bad, right? Well, let's talk a little bit about use cases. So especially kind of coming into the new year. So core security use cases have evolved over the years, starting with the value proposition for home security was really intrusion detection, right? And maybe fire detection. And then expanding to conveniently, remotely accessing and monitoring your home and this sort of convenience home automation play. Then to a focus on the past couple of years, we've seen a lot of strong focus on the front door, right? With video doorbells, with access control, with package monitoring. What do you see as the next big use cases for home security solution providers? Maybe we can go back to Matt there.
Thanks. Yeah, I think there's a few use cases that jump right to the top of the list for me. And Brian mentioned it earlier, and I think you'll hear from some experts on a later panel. But there's certainly been a good deal of venture capital investment in aging in place technologies, with a significant number of baby boomers having a desire to age in place comfortably on their own, in their own homes, I should say. And I think we've seen the pandemic. What we've seen from the pandemic will probably only heighten, that trend going forward. So I think there's clearly going to be demand for products that, like DIY home security, that are intuitive and flexible and give people, peace of mind, as they're aging. I think it's an excellent opportunity for us to play a role. And our industry to play a role. SimpliSafe launched a partnership with the AARP in 2019, and we've seen impressive engagement and technology adoption among their base of maturing Americans. And then, the other use case, and I've mentioned it earlier, but I'll just, reiterate, is offering better products and services for the exterior, of your home. I don't know if it's due to package theft becoming more common, but consumers definitely have a heightened awareness and appetite for security, and now understand that having visibility into what's going on outside those walls will help them feel safe. So, creating those compelling products and services that let people keep that eye out, I think is definitely a significant use case going forward as well.
Yeah, picking up on the independent living piece, and especially since you've been working with AARP for several years now, can you speak out to how you maybe serve senior customers differently? Oftentimes we see in the independent living or aging in place space, there's also two buyers. Sometimes the senior is the user, but a family caregiver, adult child is often the buyer, the influencer, right? And technology maybe is used differently. How do you think about that at SimpliSafe?
Yeah, no, it's a great point you bring up, and in the aging in place demographics do run the gamut, right? And I do think it is two constituencies. Most of what we've focused on has been the homeowner, and we've tried to highlight that our solution, the flexibility that we provide, and not locking somebody into a long-term contract is quite appealing to this demographic. Certainly, the fact that our offerings for professional monitoring are quite affordable. So somebody who might be living on a fixed income, it definitely is beneficial, and really just the very easy to use and intuitive technology. Certainly, aging Americans are getting more tech savvy, but not having the technology feel intimidating is really key. And I think, like I said, Brian alluded to it earlier, but for that second constituency, being able to have technology that, you're not big brother here for mom or dad or your grandparents, but being able to know and just, put a sensor on the door each morning at their bedroom to make sure they woke up, or having them be able to see outside and who's at the front door, is very reassuring. And so we really tailored our marketing and tried to have a lot of support too around install and dedicated customer service lines for that audience, and it seems to be working quite well.
Okay. Min, how about from your perspective at Brinks? So I mentioned, the use cases for security evolving over the years. What do you see as the sort of next strong use cases that you're developing for?
I agree with Matt, and especially, you know, with more people adopting camera as part of their security solutions, and camera technology, not just the hardware side, but software side, you know, becoming even smarter and providing more sophisticated use cases. I think that remote care for elderly parents and patients, you know, could be a good you know, great example. So, for example, you know, camera can detect, you know, presence, like movement, even falls inside a home. And people actually can, you know, record, you know, their important activities like eating, you know, taking medicine at regular time or doing an exercise, and sending those rich information to the caregivers or their family members. This will hugely save, you know, manual paperwork and providing much more efficient and effective, you know, care services for these people. And also from family member point of view, you know, they can actually, you know, these use cases will definitely bring more assurance and peace of mind to their family members. So I think, you know, there will be definitely a great potential here. Also, you know, with more cameras being installed, you know, around the house, along with all these like streaming devices at home, I think, you know, there will be an increasing needs for, you know, the network quality as well as the bandwidth. So I think, you know, providing the safe and you know, stable network environment as part of the camera solution, also providing the peace of mind in terms of like the data security, privacy. I think those will be also very important verticals that we can definitely tie back to the security. Those will be a great sort of like relevant adjacent market that, you know, we can potentially go together and provide the value to the consumers.
Yeah, absolutely. All very good points. And we're looking at our audience poll here, very bullish on independent living. So we asked, what new use cases pose the greatest opportunities for market expansion in the residential security space? Options being independent living, vehicle alarm monitoring, home network data security monitoring. So that's something you were just talking about, Min. Energy management services, water management, leak detection, and extending the protected boundary when you think about outside, even to the end of the driveway, to the sidewalk, around the backyard, that sort of thing. 54% said independent living. Everybody else, 12% or below. So I think that it makes a lot of sense, and I do think that the pandemic really shined a light on some of our most vulnerable populations, and has made anybody in a caregiving role have a particularly difficult year in figuring out how to care for their loved ones. So I think that's great to see more innovation there. So let's move on to another thing I mentioned in the very, very beginning was the idea that there are some interesting new channels that come into play, especially when you think about DIY, self-install systems and products that don't require the dealer channel. And so we have a couple folks on this panel for sure that are doing some interesting, I'm sure everybody's doing interesting things, but let's hear from Brian a little bit. I know that Notion in particular works with insurers. Tell us about, you know, that channel and you know, how you're seeing insurers think about smart products and security systems in the home and how these relationships can work.
Yeah, no, thank you. I think there's a couple things that we're really interested in this space. Is that there is, you know, where point solutions are really good. Consumers engage, they get their doorbell, they get their door lock, etc. An insurance provider has a lot of energy and excitement around this space because it can do a handful of things that are very important to their business model. One, they can use IoT to engage with customers. It's a very positive engagement piece. Use it for acquiring new customers, as some of the InsurTech startups are using IoT as a platform to go out and acquire and offer discounts when IoT from somebody like Notion or through to somebody like SimpliSafe is installed. There is an inherent discounting network within insurance that drive that. And although I think it's still early, we still have to get a lot of units out there. There is a claims reduction piece that is going to be really impactful to the insurance space. It will allow them to do things around underwriting and doing things in a more aggressive way around price, that is going to be super engaging to consumers. So there's a lot of really good pieces for us as an IoT provider to insurance to really understand that space, understand how to really work within a Nationwide or a Hippo or others. But we think that's really exciting. And then one other layer to that is that we think that there's a tremendous opportunity around services. I think, Jennifer, when we chatted earlier this week, you had a dishwasher problem, right? How solutions, call it home protection, start allowing you to engage in your home. Home ownership is hard, and saying, hey, your water heater is going to go bad or something needs to take place. We foresee, much like the fire department getting called or the police department in traditional security, we're very close to saying, hey, the plumber is on its way. And we think that is going to be a really good, engaging way to take that next level of importance with home security with consumers.
Yeah, I think that's great. And my dishwasher finally got fixed today.
Good to hear.
By ourselves, 4 plumbers, nobody came by. We figured it out. So, lost opportunity there. But if there had been connected service together with it, it could have come out that day. I missed out on that opportunity. So, well, I think that the insurance space is really interesting because, of course, if you can bring the cost of products down or save consumers money, right, and their insurance premiums, that really, first of all, may open the market to a different segment of consumer who's more price sensitive, right? And you save consumers money, that's always attractive.
Everybody has home insurance. It's kind of just part of home ownership. And a lot of people have never thought about either DIY or professional security services before. And so it's a whole new market of opportunity to engage and talk about that solution.
Yeah. Well, I know that SimpliSafe has a partnership with Reliant, which is kind of interesting. I don't know that people might think of a DIY security system working with an energy provider. And Reliant is a retail energy provider in Texas. We have a deregulated market. And so energy providers are doing some interesting things. Tell us about how that works and where you think, that type of partnership makes sense for you.
Yeah, no, thanks, Jennifer. And, partnerships like the one we have with Reliant that definitely were born out of 2 companies that really both take a customer-centric approach to how they go about their business. And what this is doing is making, home security more accessible to customers. And I also think providing enhanced value, just like you were just alluding to, Jennifer, on the insurance side, by creating more value, these partnerships have a chance to be, quite successful. And that's certainly what we're trying to build with Reliant. They've had success in the smart home in the past with, smart thermostats. And, it's felt like a natural fit to tie, our 2 products and services together. I think in general, they're channels that make sense to incorporate home security, but in the past, the need for truck rolls for install and long-term monitoring contracts, created cost and complexity and execution issues that don't exist in DIY. And now these can be introduced by partners, like Reliant or like insurers, and certainly that cost savings piece as well, really makes it quite sticky for the customer. So we're quite excited to be rolling these types of partnerships out, into this year.
Well, I have lots of other questions for you guys, but we do have some questions from the audience, so I want to pull these in as well. An interesting question around, the security industry using cellular for systems, either as backup or as the primary communication method. When you think about it from a DIY perspective, how do you plan to migrate DIY customers to 5G? If we're even there, I know a lot of security panels are several generations earlier. So I think there might be more familiarity around how the professional channel does that. How do you do that for DIY? Do you require customers to buy new hardware? How else do you think about that? So maybe, anybody can jump in here if you have thoughts. Otherwise, I would maybe ask Matt from the SimpliSafe perspective.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we offer dual connectivity with Wi-Fi and cell, and the cell is certainly a critical component. As 5G is evolving and rolling out, we certainly want to be able to harness that power. Something we're thinking about a lot. We're want to put the customer first in all instances. So we'll be leaning more towards the migration being something that we provide for our customers versus using it as an excuse to make them reinvest on something they may have just purchased. But clearly it will be something exciting to look forward to.
Okay. Any other thoughts on 5G or how you manage, upgrading customers to the next generation of cellular?
I think, what matters more from consumer perspective is like creating a real use cases with leveraging the 5G. So with that computing power, with that connectivity, what is really the augmented experiences that it can actually bring to the consumers in the IoT context. Whether it's like connected to the smart city, whether it's connected to, the remote healthcare, service. I think, like nailing down those use cases from, consumer's eye will be more important rather than just like saying this is much faster and more reliable sort of like connection, between your panel or your system and the first responders. So I think, crafting those use cases and really, speak those use cases to the consumers so that they can feel with their skin will be more important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really, really great point. Another question that we have here. What way do you think the consumers will go? Smart home gateway first and then add security to it, or security gateway and add smart home to it? Maybe we can go to Mark for this one if you have any thoughts.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's certainly a convergence between traditional smart home and traditional smart security or security systems. And so, as I said earlier, consumers really need to think about like what is it that they're trying to accomplish overall, and then go for a system that can enable that and do it for them. So, looking at the hub is one thing, but I think that you also need to take into consideration the different things that you want to monitor, be it fire alarm or flood protection or outside your home and whatnot. So I think it really will continue to just be a convergence of the two areas.
Okay. Any other thoughts on that question? Well, so we have just a few minutes left. This is CES week, so I do want to do some future-looking innovation thoughts here. When we think about the security industry, as much as changed it in the past couple of years, right? We expect all of you to be leaning into new tech, whether it be AI and video analytics and contextual awareness, or proactive services, biometrics, 5G. The world's open. What do you expect to really see from an innovation standpoint over the next few years actually start to be incorporated in products and hit consumers' homes? Mark, we can start with you.
Yeah, so as you said, it really is remarkable over the last 5, even 10 years, probably not even 10 years, 5 really, how much different life is and how our homes have changed. And the future of smart home innovation, I think it'll be a continued evolution of location and presence-based automation that are enhanced by home AI that learns patterns and trends and interactions to really understand users better. And these will be used to anticipate or adjust a particular scenario. So, for example, it's a Friday afternoon, you're on your way home, and the house sees that the forecast is going to be sun, like it's going on right now, which is weird in Seattle. But it's going to be sunny and hot, and it knows you like to be cool and comfortable. So when it detects your approach and arrival, the gate will automatically open, your sun-facing awnings will lower, blinds will adjust. Lights will produce a calming effect, and the temperature will change as your doors open to welcome you. And then for good measure, I think the home should probably also make you an espresso martini. But it's really through those innovations that the smart home will truly become smarter in a way that helps simplify your everyday movements.
Awesome. Yeah, that rare Seattle sun is calling your name there, right? Yeah. Well, great. Well, I'd love to go around the board on this, though. So just to kind of wrap us here. So thoughts on innovation and what we can expect to see as new and exciting or actually, meets practical reality. Min, how about you?
Yeah, all these like the biometric, video analytics, these are all great technologies out there. And actually, it didn't start with home security or a smart home solution. It started from like the mobile industry, and then we adopted those solutions in the context of like home security and smart home. So I think these trends will continue, and more important thing is as a industry, we really need to kind of like continuously identify, these like new technologies and continuously introducing new features based on the technologies and really bringing new use cases for the consumers. Also, another thing is like, bringing all these pieces together, for consumers. So thinking about their usability, thinking about the UI flow, so that we basically simplify their lives versus like more complicate their lives with all different kinds of like technologies. So nailing down, the simple solutions, simple UI, simple, usability, plus, giving an assurance and control back to the consumers about the data usage and data sharing. I think that will be even more important, as the industry actually going the innovations, going forward.
Awesome. Brian, how about you? Any thoughts, future looking on what you expect?
Yeah, I think the industry is moving really quick. I think this last year just showed us that it's going to move even quicker once we get out of this COVID piece. We're really bullish on things like AI, but I think it ties back to my earlier point around insurance and services. We see those being kind of what was table stakes about 4 or 5 years ago if you were integrated with Alexa or if you're integrated with Google Play. I think that you'll find really interesting integrations with insurance, with service companies to really support home ownership and making that a better experience. And I think there's a tremendous amount of headroom in there for service companies that are really on the technology forefront to really, not manage, but to utilize what is happening in this room with, security and sensors and other things are going on to really create a better experience.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And Matt, last words from you?
Yeah, I'll be quick. These guys did a great job summarizing the opportunity, but I think it comes in harnessing the innovation to really be able to strengthen the services we offer in security. People are hiring us because they do want that peace of mind. It's pretty exciting on how we'll leverage innovation to make, monitoring services or different features, as Min was alluding to, more valuable and enhancing that peace of mind. And so it's quite exciting.
Great. Well, thank you all very much for your time today and for your insights. We really do appreciate you. Up next, we have at 2 o'clock Central Time, so just about 10 minutes wherever you are, a fireside chat with Delos, which will be a really interesting conversation. Then at 2:45, a full panel discussion on healthcare, independent living, and the smart home, which we know, as we've just talked about, is a really a hot topic and a really pretty impactful area to be working and developing. So we'll be talking about that. Thank you again to our sponsors, Alarm.com, AmTrust Specialty Risk, Plume, and AirTies for supporting our conference, and to all of the media and industry organizations that support this event, as well as to our speakers, both here on this panel and throughout today. We really appreciate you coming on and sharing your expertise. Some information here about the rest of the Parks Associates Conference series. We are going to continue to be virtual throughout 2021 for Connections, our smart home event, as well as Smart Energy Summit, Connected Health Summit, and Future Video. And so you can check out all of that content and those dates. So thank you very much, and we'll see you back here in about 10 minutes for our fireside chat.